Okay, we are back at it with the slip slop mystery top. Welcome back to Unchained Crochet with Jen. Um, this top is a booger, let me tell you, because it's the equivalent probably of 4 baby blankets. But I do love it. It's very cozy, comfy, and stylish. Definitely unique. So, last night I had a video recording fail twice, and I had done both the back shoulders, which is where we're at now with this garment. So I got done before I realized my video had cut off both times on both shoulders. So I'm just going to, I've undone the shorter shoulder side. At this point, you really should be deciding which side you want your sleeve to be on, because the other side is just that boxy side with that goes all the way to the cuff. So I've decided there's no right or wrong side to this pattern. So just pick one and go for it. I'm left-handed, so I finished I did 60 for my body up to my neck, 60 rows. And now I'm going to do, on the back shoulder, we just do 3 rows tall for the shoulder shaping. We did 5 rows tall, or was it 6? Let me look at my notes again. Yeah, 8 blocks wide. It was 4 inches. I think it was 6 rows. I ended up with, I think, yeah, 8 rows for the shoulders on the front. Sorry. So the front had 8 rows tall for the shoulders. The back is only 3 rows tall. So there's a 5-row difference. You want to add 5 more rows from your base to your neckline. Go 5 rows taller, because we want your neckline to be up to here. It's only going to be half as tall on the shoulder shaping for the back piece. And because that just makes sense. So we did 8 blocks wide for the shorter shoulder, and then the other one goes 17 blocks wide. And there's 8 blocks for mine anyway. You have to work out your own, proportions, how long you want yours to be, how wide and all that. So, and remember, we're going to be adding some vertical rows for some vertical stripe effect here. So this is 13 inches. It's going to take you out almost to like mid upper arm from the neckline on your boxy side. And then this side will be more like drop shoulder length, just kind of go over the bend of your shoulder before we add those vertical rows here and here. So does that make sense? I hope. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my 8 block wide shoulder. And of course the end of every row stops with a single crochet into the chain 3 space that you started the previous row with. So I've done that single crochet. I'm done with that row. Now I'm ready for the shoulder shaping. So I'm going to chain 3. I like chain 3 on my edges. Just makes it where it's got a little more stretch and give to it, and it doesn't pucker up the piece. But I do chain 2s on my blocks. So I've done my chain 3. That counts as the single crochet plus the chain 2 basically. So now we're going to do 2 double into the same space. Oops. You know what it's called in the Olympics, if crochet were in the Olympics, which it really should be. A lot of our terminology sounds like ice skating. But if you drop a stitch when you're doing a double crochet, we'll just call that a double Let's Klutz. A double Let's Klutz. I do a lot of double Let's Klutzes. And I'm going to go across here for 8 blocks. In this video segment of the series, we're going to go ahead and start our side striping, our side panel striping that gets added to the front and the back. We're going to open this up after we close up the shoulder and go across the front and the back and start going vertical striping. You know, this top almost looks like a whoopsie sometimes. I told one of my clients at work that it's a whoopsie sweater. And I think she thought that I actually did mess up and make that one side way too big. I was like, she said, oh, well, you could still wear it. It's still cute. But I told her, I said, no, I meant to do that way. It's the style. It's just, what I felt like trying out. And she said, well, it's really cute on you. So we'll see. This is the top everybody asked me about when I'm out yarn shopping and such. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I went too far. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 squares. And then you're going to go into the next chain 2 space here and do your single crochet, because we always end the row with the single crochet and the chain 2 space below. So now I'm going to chain up 3 since I'm on the edge. Living on the edge. And I'm going to turn back and just do the same thing. So go ahead and do your 3 rows. I'm going to pause here. Whenever I say I'm pausing in the video, that's cue for you to pause and go ahead and finish your 3 rows for that shoulder. Okay, so we've reached the end of the 3rd row for the back shoulder shaping on the short side. So I've stopped with my single crochet, and now I'm just going to take an extra chain stitch and pull the thread up a little bit. And now I'm going to take my piece. See, I left this other shoulder that I finished last night. Still a little ticked off about that. Phone issues. So I'm putting my right sides together. Since I have this shoulder put together, that tells me I'm on the outside or the inside. I've got the wrong sides facing out right now. So just make sure you don't get anything twisted around. Here's my other shoulder. And we are just going to slip stitch and chain that shoulder up. This shoulder is not as invisible of a seam as my first sweater was, mainly because I'm not going into the troughs. You can if you want, but I'm just going into the peaks. Wherever I'm at right now, that's where we're starting. We're going to do a slip stitch with those 2 corners held together, those 2 edges. And now I'm going to go peak to peak right here. I did a chain 2 between. So slip stitch, chain 2. Go to the next 2 peaks, slip stitch, chain 2. Next chain 2 spaces, peaks right there, slip stitch, chain 2. I do the chain 2 so that you can get from A to B and have that not be a taut join. You don't want it to be taut. You want it to have a little bit of give to it, and I don't chain very tightly. I'm not a tight stitcher anyway. I look at crochet as something that's relaxing for me and very soothing. I have basically generalized anxiety, and it helps me just to relax and not be tight with my stitches. Plus you get more yardage that way. So now we've gone into the last 2 corners there, and just put your last slip stitch, chain 1, and pull it on through, and then pull that chain. So that tail is going to get buried later. I would go ahead and take the time to do it now, but I want to go ahead and get into this side edge. So right now is a good time for you. I don't want to move all my stuff around right now, and I know that mine's going to fit me, but right now is a good time to turn and look at your work. Put it right sides out. Here's a shoulder seam right there, and here's the other one. Your other one, you're going to skip across however many blocks wide you made your front neckline. You want the same width on the back, and I did 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that is started from the front for your next shoulder. Start from, if you're right-handed and you're on a row that is going that way, you want your next row to be going this way, basically. So since I had started my left shoulder from my left side, since I'm a lefty, I just went ahead and made that the skinny shoulder. I started from here. I just kept going with my project. I made that shoulder first. I didn't rejoin. This is where I stopped my body piece and came and just kept going for those 3 rows for the shoulder. And then over here, I counted over. And since I started from this side of the piece, I wanted to keep this side facing me, and counted over the 8 blocks, and then said, okay, well, this one is the one I'm going to go from. So essentially, just make your stitches the same width. My wide side, can't get it all in there, was 17 blocks wide for the wide shoulder. So we do 17 blocks wide for the back shoulder, and only do 3 rows tall instead of the 8 rows tall. All right, so there's that, and go ahead and slip it on this toward the front. And your neckline, we are going to go around the neckline, so this will tighten up a little bit. So don't be scared. You can play with your tension there a little bit, and reduce stitches as needed to get it to fit a little bit better if it's a little too big for you. But it should be just fine. So right now we're going to. You can pretty much decide if you want to start from the inside or the outside. Oops, sorry, bumped the gooseneck. If you want to start from the inside or the outside, if you're right-handed, you want to start from the outside, start at the bottom of the front, back, whichever it ends up for you. Just pick an end and start stitching from there. And, oh, you guys, I got my little turtle here. See my turtle? Love my turtles. I had one sitting on the floor yesterday next to the couch, and I put it down there so that my yarn wouldn't be the same height as me. I don't like it at the same height of my working. I don't like it working height. I like to sit it down lower than I am sitting, because it makes the yarn come off easier without pulling it or babying it. And what do you know? I went and grabbed a drink, and when I came back, I stepped on his little fin right here, and it's curved right there. And I broke his fin off. So upset. So my turtle now is missing. One of my turtles is missing his little flipper. So I'm probably going to have that re-welded, or maybe try some Gorilla Glue on it to really test that stuff out. If it'll hold that together. I know super glue is not going to do it. But I love my turtles so much. And I just snapped his little fin off. And no, I've never been afraid that I'll step on the spike because it's way too high. I would have to be jumping up and down to step on the spike. So I'm going to go ahead. You can also look at your colors. I'm starting with the white here. I can't see my screen, but I think you can see I'm starting with some of the white. So, look at the colors you're going to be going up against. Not a whole lot of white there. So I think the white is a good start, and I think this white here might be almost enough to get down to it from one end to the other. So you're just going to go ahead and start stitching back and forth the same way as you were doing before. But to join on this, I like to start in the corner. So let me go ahead and get the thread. And you're going to have a seam there. I don't remember. I'm going to leave somewhat of a long tail. I don't know. If there's a seam there on the sides, it's going to take a super long tail I don't want hanging. But I was just thinking of leaving something to sew my seam up with, but I may go ahead and just join them together at the end of the rows. So I join with a slip stitch and just pull that tight, and then we're gonna chain. You can chain 1 and do a single crochet if you want, but I'm just gonna go ahead and chain 3, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a block in that corner stitch there. And then after that, the next one's going to go into this next single crochet right there. So every single crochet you're going into, you're not going into the doubles, you're going into these singles. So you're going to do your regular old stitch, just, single crochet, chain 2. Sorry, I stutter sometimes. And do your 2 double. Another double klutz. And you can go into your next single crochet. And you can make this section, I mean, if you're using my measurements, I wear a 2X pretty well. And this is a very oversized sweater, so I don't worry about fit too much. You don't want it to be too tight. So just keep that in mind. You know, you want a lot of positive ease. We're just putting way less positive ease on this side. And I think this size, even though this is not a pattern, it's a tutorial, but this size that I'm making, I think would realistically fit a 1X to maybe 3 or 4X. It was hard to decide what name to give this. It really was. It was, and then I was like, it's kind of slip slop looking. It's kind of sloppy top, you know, but it's elegant at the same time, I think, or, you know, casual dressy as they call it. So I just went ahead with slip slop top. There's a lot of slip stitches in it, you know. You just slip it on, throw on some tinnies and go to the store, or you can wear it somewhere appropriate for dressier. And I think the pants you wear with it could really determine how it looks more, and then your colorway that you've chosen. This one I don't think is as dressy as my other. I really want to go down to Florida before it gets too, I am just dropping all kinds of stitches, before it gets too warm, and I'd like to wear this as it's got nice you know, beach volley colors. I'm a little wondering what it's going to look like on me. I haven't tried it on yet. I don't want it to make me look any bigger than I already am, but then again, you know, I think with the shaping and then the way that the stripes go vertical as well, I think could really be slimming at the same time. Tell you something funny. My aunt had told me one time. Actually, she told my sister this, and my sister told me. But my aunt always wore lots of jewelry. She worked at LS Airs before they closed down in Indianapolis, and she worked in the perfume and makeup department. And for Christmas, she would one year for Christmas, she got me all these beautiful little bottles of perfumes and nice brands, you know. And back in the day, LS Airs was the bomb diggity. And she had told my sister one time, it doesn't matter what you wear, just keep the eye moving. So you want to wear, you know, a lot of jewelry, you know, have your hair done, wear a decent outfit, you know, just keep it moving, keep the eye moving. And that's true. I mean, you keep the eye moving, and it's not going to pinpoint attention to one area you don't like so much. You know, keep the eye moving. You know, if you like your eyes and you really want your people to notice your eyes more and everything, then accentuate your eyes. I think that's really what makeup is for, is to accentuate the beauty, not to hide everything that we have wrong with our faces that we feel is wrong, but just to accentuate the beauty. So you can see, you just keep going through all the single crochets, and it is nice and even. It doesn't make a ruffly look at all. That's one thing about this stitch. It's basically the corner to corner stitch minus 1 double crochet. So, all right, I want you to just keep on going. Keep it moving, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. I've got quite a ways to go. It's about 6 foot, maybe 7 foot long here of a strip to do. Let me grab the other one I did. I want to see how many rows I did for this section. Hold on. Bear with me. Okay. I'll just let you see too. So here is where I started the vertical row and adding more width to my piece on that side. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm looking for my seam. It's very hard to find. 7. Let me find my seam again. Okay, there's my seam. All right, so let's count back from the seam. That seems like it would be easier. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 rows. So that's how many I did. And it turned out, I'll grab the tape measure again. I should just leave a tape measure out at all times. Just to give you an idea, the rows are about a 1/2 inch tall each. So there's 9 rows. If you get an extra 1 or 2, it really doesn't matter because you're doing the front and the back sides at both times, both at the same time. Sorry, it's late where I'm at. So that is about 3 inches tall, almost, let it relax, 2.5 inches tall. So we're adding 2.5 inches to the width because, you know, the front and the back, when it's combined, that's going to be a 5-inch section there of the stripes going vertical. And then when you get that side done, you can go ahead and do the other side. And it's going to be basically as long as you want it. The other side is, doing this side is the side that I determined that I was going to try it on. I just kept stitching and stitching. I don't know how many rows. And you just go straight, straight, straight. Just keep stitching back and forth, back and forth. And then when it gets as long as you want on your arm, put the piece on for the boxy side. Put the piece on and see where it falls on your arm. This was the first cuff I did. So it fell a few inches before my wrist. And that's about where I wanted it because I wanted to make this chunky looking double crochet. I think I'd use double crochet ribbing cuff. So just keep, mine is from here to here. And it looks like, now where did I put the tape measure? Constantly losing stuff. It looks like it's probably 10 inches or so from the wide shoulder. So 10 inches or so more. And then we'll be stitching it closed, the front and the back. We'll stitch it closed with our slip stitch chain 2 method. And then you can pick up, and I just left it open. And then I picked up and started doing my ribbing. But that fit my wrist good, leaving that opening. And that opening's about 4.5 inches wide, maybe 5 inches. I used to do industrial sewing for a company. It was piece rate, and I learned to eyeball. I could cut my pieces that I had to put together, pieces of Velcro and pieces of reflective tape that went on these like construction type vests that were for the railroad. And it was a subcontract job, paid piece rate. It was really good money because I got really fast. But cutting the pieces of the Velcro and stuff, you know, you would cut one and use that and hold it up to the other. But it got to the point where I didn't have to use one to hold up to the other. I could just eyeball it, cut, and they would all be the same size, whether it was 4 inches, 5 inches, whatever it was. I eyeballed it. You know, I got to the point where I could take a pen and mark on a piece of paper that doesn't have lines on it, mark a quarter inch, quarter inch, quarter inch, quarter inch, just eyeballing it because I did it so much. So that's it for this. When you get your 9 or so rows on this side, and it just depends on how big you want it. But when you get it enough stripes there that you like, go ahead and pick up and do your other side. And then we're gonna, in the next series video, we're going to handle stitching up the sides and starting, and then the sleeve's going to be another video, but we'll stitch up the sides and we'll do our first cuff, which is on the boxy side. All right, thanks guys.